Welcome to the StoryField. This is a podcast created and sponsored by the Allen Firm. This is Josh Allen, and I'm joined by Micah Petrie. I think you'll agree that life is complex, business is hard, and living a life of faith can feel complicated. We know it's discouraging when movement in your life or business or faith has stopped. Well, you're in the right place to hear some great stories of normal people just like us who will inspire you to move forward in life. So thank you for joining us. Today, we know you're going to be encouraged.
Hey friends of the StoryField, this is Micah, host and engineer of the podcast. So we tried something new with this podcast. We went to do a live event. We thought, man, we're almost out of this COVID thing. Let's go hang out somewhere. We found this cool cigar bar in Granbury that allowed us to go in kind of after hours and record this podcast with our buddy Lance Battenfield. So of course, everything being new, we tried some new equipment and everything. So we had some issues with the audio at the very first half of this podcast. I'm not sure what it was because somewhere around minute 26, everything comes out fine. You can hear everybody perfectly good. But for some reason, the first part of this, Lance is a little bit muffled. So we had to do a whole bunch of editing, and you're going to hear some loudness, and you're going to hear some breathing and all kinds of crazy stuff that you normally would not be able to hear. But this interview is so good, we just decided to kind of leave it in and let you hear the interview, the conversation between me, Josh, and Lance. And we actually had some people in the audience that they were just in the store that decided to like hang out with us and listen to us record this podcast. Anyway, there's some great stuff on here about small business and all the crazy stuff that Lance has done in his life. But just wanted to give you a warning. The first 25 minutes, you may have to turn it up a little bit so that you can hear Lance. And then after that, it's fine. So hope you enjoy this episode. It is a great one. And we're going to have Lance back just to kind of discuss a bunch of other things. So enjoy. Hey, welcome to the StoryField podcast. We've got a weird kind of thing going on. We're not on Zoom. We're actually in person. Josh, where are we at?
So we're at the Granbury Cigar Club. So thank you for opening the doors to us to do that. We're surrounded by the best cigars you can find, and the smell is amazing here.
Right,
and,
I feel like we're in like a Cuba lounge with all this leather chairs and all this stuff.
I know. We need to make my office like this, Micah.
Yes.
Somehow we need to. But we do want to thank Granbury Cigar Club and David Lampert. We're going to link to the show notes how you can find them here in Granbury, Texas, and surrounding. And we'll give you their location, number, and all that. So thank you for sponsoring us.
Yeah, our guest today, I've known for a long time, Lance. People know him as the coffee guy. People know him as the guitar player for Christian rock bands. Josh, how did you get hooked up with Lance? I forgot about that one. That's how you guys match.
I think I knew Lance first time as the root beer guy, the guy who showed up at one of our deals we were doing with his homemade root beer. So Lance, I'm gonna give a little bio on him. This is barely gonna touch it, but he's a Louisiana man. I think we just need to clear that up. Who ended up in Lingleville, Texas. And for those of you who don't know about Lingleville, so it's a town with an estimated population of 200 people.
Does that include the cows? I think that includes the cows.
That was 10 years ago. Yeah. So it's about 10 miles west of Stephenville. And, at Lingleville, there is one store. There's a post office and a school there. And Lance and his wife, Chelsea, own the one store called Lingleville Country Store. Now, the store is very small, but incredibly, it's become one of the places to go for great coffee, beer, and unbelievable baked goods with your secret recipes. And, yeah.
Dude, I love this is going to be like coffee nerdy, but you have the best designs on top of the coffee. I don't know how you guys make those things with toothpicks and latte. Is that what it's called? Latte art?
Latte art, yeah. Free board. Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't know what that means. We're going to find out, though. So people from the entire area really do. They make a trip out to the store and we'll get into that later. But and also, just in case you wanted to stop at the post office, you're going to walk through Lingleville Country Store at the back part. Is that right? The post office is in the back?
Office, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're the post office and the store, and then there's a church and school. So we have roughly half the town right now.
Yep.
We're working on the other half.
So Lance and Chelsea recently opened up another coffee shop and cafe called Blackjack's, located in Dublin, Texas. So Dublin is about 3,000 person town, and that's located 10 miles southwest of Stephenville. Same great coffee and amazing food. So I guess the rest of your time, Lance, you spend with your 5 kids making pops, brewing beer, making homemade root beer, delicious coffee, serving in church, and no telling what else. So we're going to find out. So, man, we have a lot of ground to cover today, so thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, man.
You want to add any of that, Micah, just to the...
No, I'm going to wait till the questions because I have
Okay.
surprise questions for him. I want him to answer on the spot.
Okay, good. Well, man, I do want to start. Tell us about just kind of growing up, your childhood, like Louisiana.
So I tell people, I grew up in water this deep, and I am, slashing right about my knee. Just because, we grew up, right where the Blackman Bayou meets the Intercoastal Canal and goes into the Mississippi. So we, grew up in a floodplain, pretty much, or a swamp. And so we didn't have a lot of supervision. Real quick childhood experience. We're going the wrong direction. And then my dad had this epiphany moment. He's alcoholic at this point, but God tells him to move his family to Texas, right? And my mom's like, did God tell you, stop drinking so much, And so he leaves. He packs me and my brother up, and we leave because my mom didn't want to go. We wound up in Gorman, Texas, where his parents are from. Long story short, God wrecks him, does a miracle, gets him and my mom back together. We all move out of Plaquemine, which was just a bad place to live, to grow up. And we moved to a different place in Louisiana. And God just totally redirects our family to kingdom purposes. We start going to church. My dad gets into ministry, just night day, just flip. Only Jesus could do it.
Yeah. What were you thinking during that? Tell me, how old were you? When?
I was probably 9 when all this went down. I just remember, I do remember this, when my parents sat us down and told us they were splitting up. I remember my mind, my parents don't love me enough to keep my family together. And that's I feel like God let me go through that almost to give me a little bit of the peace of what people and kids who go through divorce, go through. Because that's just tough, man. But that's what was going through my mind. And then from there, it was just, man, the devil was having a field day with our whole family. Just bad.
So I got a question. How did you get from Louisiana to Texas?
Because we went back, right?
Yeah.
We lived in Louisiana another few years, and then my dad, we've always been into horses. My dad's always been a horse guy. He's always liked traditional arts, so he makes his own bows and he got into wagons for a while, and so I tell people all the time we came to Texas on a covered wagon. We did. We rode from the Louisiana-Texas border to Carbon, Texas, and it took us a month. And we were on horseback, covered wagon the entire time. We're making front page news.
Yeah. How did that plan go down? How do you?
It was a lot of planning, believe it or not. So we took some practice runs in Louisiana, some day trips.
Did you just say practice runs in a covered wagon?
Hey, listen. Unless you're living 150, 200 years ago, you practice run, man. You do a practice run. So we had a truck that kind of shadowed us the whole way, just in case. And so they'd go up ahead and stop at the checkpoint, whatever we decided on the map where we'd stop. The problem is that he he kind of overextended us. Like, we were going, for a while there, we were going like between 20 and 30 miles a day, which if you read history, that's a long pace every day. That's like forced march, like, long, you know? So we started doing that. We got to where about halfway through, about 3/4 of the way through, we were like 2 weeks in, and it was like, we realized we can't keep this pace, you know? We're gonna like wear out our horses, wear out ourselves, you know? We ate a lot of hot dogs. I slept on the ground a lot. I remember when I first slept in a bed when I first came back, and how comfortable that bed was. And I thought, this is the most comfortable bed. This is the best food I've ever eaten. This woman can cook, man. And then I realized, you know, it's just because I was totally deprived for like a month, you know.
So this is when your dad came. I mean, he came to Gorman. He met Jesus in a big way, then came back and picked you guys up and said, here's the plan. I just wanted to get my timeline right.
So basically, we moved to Walker, Texas for a while. My dad actually started serving in a church there, like crazy. Like, he went from like no Jesus to like serving in a church in like probably less than 6 months. I don't know, you know. That seems fast to me. So we stayed there for probably, it must have been maybe 4 or 5 years, and then we moved to Texas.
Okay.
So it was a good move, and actually we found Lingleville, which is where we are now, when we were on the wagon trip. So it happened to be a church that we stopped at, and we loved the church and the people so much that we came back and decided to move there.
Oh my goodness.
Lingleville is just so awesome. And the people in the church, the people in the school, just the people in the community. I love Lingleville so much. I cannot tell you how awesome the people are there.
Well, you own almost half of it, so you're on your way, Mayor.
From Carson, Texas to Anson, Texas. And then we went to Lincoln County. We took the whole rig to Lincoln County, New Mexico, and just kind of rode around in the mountains and stuff.
Well, that's like Billy the Kid. That's his turf.
What'd you do? Just go like 20?
Yeah.
You know, most of the way we actually went through like little back roads and went through like small communities and just however far we could get off the highway and not like be in a bad spot. We took it. It was man. My dad's a crazy guy, man. When he gets something in his head to do it, he gets fixed on it and he does it. But I'll say this, like, I have a great example of like what a man of faith looks like. Because God's told him to do some crazy stuff, and he's just like up and done it. Like, not even like moved this whole family. I mean, just and really the wagon trip. It was kind of a God thing. It was something that he was wanting to do just personally, but at the same time, like, he wanted to use it to tell people about the gospel, and so that's what we did.
Yeah. So how are y'all doing that? And go ahead, and we're on.
So when we're on our way, we would stop at different churches, and we would talk to their youth groups about just like, you know, evangelism and how to share the gospel and just like what it means to be a Christian and how to tell people about Jesus. And then you get a lot of attention, obviously, when you're riding in a covered wagon and people notice you. So we had a lot of people just stop, and we would always, you know, be faithful to tell people Jesus loved them, you know, and tell them about the gospel. It was pretty cool stuff.
We're gonna have to find in the show notes, Micah, and like link. You know,
Yeah, we're gonna do a trail map
Yeah.
of everything where you went in the covered wagon.
I could probably get
Yeah, we'll circle back with you on that. Okay, so what age does that put you in Lingleville then?
I think I was 14 when we finally moved here, and I started going to school there in Lingleville.
And then you finish up there, and then catch us up to speed to the store.
Yeah. So I actually used to go to the store when I was in high school. We would go, and my best friend's grandparents owned the store. I remember going in there after school. We'd run in there. We'd grab like a Hot Pocket, and we would grab like a a Sioux City sarsaparilla. And they always had those in stock. So I always try to I don't keep Hot Pockets in stock. We make those now, but the Sioux City sarsaparilla is great. We always try to do really good. So we do. So in high school we used to go there, and then I graduated. I kind of bounced around the area. I met my wife actually in high school, and we dated my first couple of years of college, and then we got married shortly after. And we lived in Stephenville, maybe a year when we got married. Then we moved out to my in-laws' place. They had like an extra place. They remodeled it for us. Super big blessing for us. We live there now. So long story short, the store comes up for sale. My father-in-law, like, if he can buy property, he just buys it, you know. So he just bought it up, you know. And then they just staffed it with somebody, and they had like zero retail experience, zero like managing a store experience. They're just like entrepreneurs, business people, cattle business, you know. Which they do some pretty incredible business, but retail was not their thing. So I was working for them at the time. I had come from Starbucks, and I had like a retail, management training at Starbucks. I left there. I was working for them a few years, and they start having trouble with the store, and I'm like kind of like their bounce around guy who just like, I'd run a calf route, or I'd run hot shot loads of bakery pickup, or I would, you know, they do all kinds of stuff all over the place. So you name it, I was doing it. And every once in a while I'd hop in the store and just help out. So we're on vacation one day. We're driving along from the airport, and man, they had like an employee like steal a bunch of money and just bad stuff, like terrible stuff that I hope never happens to me.
Yeah.
So they had all this stuff happening at the store, and it was just a stressor, and it was losing money every single year since they bought it. Just lost money like crazy. So they were thinking, well, maybe we'll shut it down, maybe we'll sell it. And I'm driving, right? And I just go, hey, why don't you sell me the store? And usually it was like, yeah, you know, you don't know anything about owning a business. You know, you just wait till you're there and see how how it feels, you know. So they this time they actually just said,
okay,
maybe we'll talk about that when we get back. And I was like, say what? That was enough for me. So, you know, in the meantime, you know, we're at home. Me and Chelsea are kind of praying over this and kind of just thinking about it. And I would have never, ever, like, I'd always had this vision of, like, doing a coffee shop. It's, you know, it's everybody's vision, but, like, I'm super into coffee. Like, I love coffee. Like, it's my passion. When I was working at Starbucks, I roasted coffee on the side for another company because I could not get enough coffee at Starbucks, so I went above and beyond. And then that's the reason I really love Starbucks, is because they just weren't about the coffee enough for me. It was a big corporation.
We're not going to let you go off too far on a tangent on Starbucks.
Right. Hey, before we get too far in the Lingleville, I know you as a musician. I mean, we've led worship together. We've got Cottonwood, and I think in the BSM a couple of times. Yeah. So how did you get into the music part of where you were like, weren't you in a band?
Yeah, so Okay, so when we moved back to Louisiana, I picked up the guitar and started playing with a group of guys there in our youth group. And we had a guy, I forgot his last name. His name was Casey. But he was an adult who just came by and literally just like shepherded us and would do practices with us and rehearsals with us and would play at youth night with us. And like this guy made us all into the musicians we are today. I cannot say, I wish I knew how to get in touch with this guy, because like I just like would like to thank him just for doing that, for giving his time, because now I know how valuable that is. And man, he just gave of himself. But so he did that. He would come and practice with us, and really he developed us into musicians. And then when I moved, I instantly just got plugged in with the music team. And then from there, man, I was at Lingleville doing music all through high school. Right after high school, when I was in college, I got not a youth minister position, a music minister position at a church, one of these little country churches, Went through a couple of those, found out, the church isn't so pretty sometimes in rural Texas.
Right. And didn't you guys do some camps?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys played a bunch.
Yeah. And we would play, we'd play camps, we'd play like D-Nows. And then in college, I got with some guys who were actually really good, way better than me. And it's some of the guys I even play with now.
Is that Clay and...
Yeah, Clay and Jordan and my buddy Tanner and just some phenomenal musicians. And they play even today. And these guys are next level. I think Clay won the whole Texas Guitar Center bass.
Yeah, I mean he
just sick.
Wow.
Yeah, Clay. He's pretty sick at.
He can play anywhere.
Yeah.
He plays at Cottonwood. So anyway, yeah, that's how I got into music, and man, it's just been a real passion of mine. Once I got into to high school, I started leading worship more. Before that, I never really sang, but then I started singing, and God just kind of developed that. And I love leading worship. That's a big passion of mine. It's just leading God's people to the throne.
Well, I just wanted to make sure we talked about that a little bit, because as long as I've known you, it's been coffee and music.
Yeah.
And kids.
Yeah.
Or you having kids. I don't know. Yeah.
All right, so you end up buying Lingleville Country Store.
Yeah, so we acquired it from the in-laws.
And it was dead, as far as dead can be.
Well, okay, so cool story. Actually, how we got it was really interesting. So I would have never, ever thought, hey, let's put a coffee shop in Lingleville and let's expect that to work. Yeah, I mean, it just wouldn't have worked. So as we're praying about this, me and Chelsea are kind of praying about, this coffee shop idea that God has for us. So I'm slowly like acquiring big pieces of equipment. So like espresso machine. I got the grinders at the house. I got thousands and thousands of dollars slowly building of equipment in my shop. So I'm like using like a 3-group espresso machine to make lattes for my company in the house, which I loved. Chelsea was like, "Are you sure you're going to use this one day, or is this just for you?" So as soon as we got the store, they gave me this awesome deal, and they just said, "Why don't you run it for a while till it makes money, and then we'll sell it to you at X amount." And I was like, "Man, you cannot beat that deal. Like, I don't have to like take any risk. If it's making money, I can get it, and that's it. We already have a set price." So like, incredible deal. Like, my in-laws are awesome. They just take super good care of us. So they gave us this great deal. I take the espresso machine, move it in the store immediately, and I'm like, I'm gonna make coffee for people.
There was no coffee there. There was no coffee there before, right? I mean,
they had a Keurig machine.
Okay. Or like the old Folgers, you get at the convenience store that. Yeah.
It was like Lingleville Country Store, which is
Yeah.
And they really didn't offer much there. It was like you could get soda, a bag of chips. That was about it. Like nothing. Like that's. I really think that was one of the main reasons why it wasn't making money, just because they didn't have much to offer. Because they didn't have any management. So I take all my retail experience from managing Starbucks and just jumping into this little location. And I start just like hammering out coffee, and slowly but surely, like all these farmers and ranchers and all these people start coming in and getting these cups of coffee, and then they start noticing the difference. And people start getting lattes from us, and people start like,
there's nothing better than going to feed the pigs with a big latte. That's.
I'll be honest with you, the old guys, the old timers, the old farmers and the ranchers and the guys who pay and all these guys, they still come in today, and they get like, process, Ethiopia. I'm dead serious. They'll pay like $3-4 for a cup of coffee because they know the difference now. It's not like this 50-cent like cup of Joe anymore. They know the difference in their coffee, and they love it.
So is that what sparked it? I mean, you got the espresso machine in there. They started saying, man, this product is...
Yeah, and so that's one thing that I was really passionate about, and that I realized was really going to make the difference. It was always on my heart to bring the best that I could possibly bring. And that was just my passion with coffee, and really my passion with other stuff too. I mean, I'm smoking this awesome cigar because like, I know this is one of the best ones they make, you know? But with the coffee, it really was just, I guess, my mindset with everything almost like coming into fruition. And then we turned it over to making like sandwiches, and then we started doing breakfast burritos. And for a while there, we were getting like this Mexican lady in town to like make us tortillas instead of buying cheap tortillas in town for our breakfast burritos. She'd deliver them fresh every single morning, and we would make breakfast burritos with these like awesome, authentic tortillas. I mean, it's just like little things like that. We just started thinking outside the box, offering the best we could, and I think a lot of people get caught up on, well, price this and price that. And for me, it's never been about price. In fact, a prominent businessman in Stephenville told me one time when I was just kind of, I caught him at baseball practice, and his son was there, and my son was there. We started talking, and I was asking questions, and one thing he told me I'll never forget, don't worry about your competitor's price. Price your product at what, don't be so competitive. He said, I never go up the road and look at my competitors' prices because they're going to charge what they need to charge to stay open. I'm going to charge what I need to charge to be successful. And that's one thing that I've always kind of kept in my back pocket, is I hadn't let price stop me from doing super high quality. I mean, you take our baked goods at the store. Man, we spared nothing with those baked goods. I wanted to bring the best of every single thing we could possibly get. You know, if we use berries, it's going to be like the fresh berries. It's not going to be frozen. If we use, whatever it might be, we're going to try to get the best, and we're not going to cut corners, and we're not going to cut the amount we put in there. And so once we crunched the numbers, it was like, $4 or $5 for a muffin. One muffin, we had to charge that.
I'll take a time out right now and talk about muffin.
Yeah.
I still talk about, he had this...
People don't bat an eye at buying them. They'll buy like 4 of them.
What was it? It was the s'mores muffin.
Oh, yeah.
That thing was life-changing.
Yeah. And that's one we came up with last year. So my mom's working there now. My mom, Julie, she's like awesome. She's got more energy than me and more creativity. But I think all my creativity I get from her. I'm telling you, man, like, she comes up with these crazy ideas for muffins, and she's like, even today, like, she was telling me, like, hey, what if we do a key lime muffin with strawberries in it, and we fill it with cream cheese, and then we make a graham cracker streusel and put over the top of it. And I was like, yes, like, yeah, that'll work. The only thing I got to tell her sometimes is like, listen, like, we can charge like $4.50 for a muffin, but like, we can't spend $4.50 making a muffin. so we got to be, so I'm trying to like control it so our muffins aren't like $6 or $7, but
But then you just start seeing people trickle in from the coffee and providing the good product, and then you added.
And it's really snowballed. And when I started, I knew we were on to something when I noticed people coming from Stephenville, which is about 10 miles away, and that's where like the nearest coffee shop is, or coffee shops. I think there's 3 coffee shops in Stephenville, and people drive away from Stephenville, come to Lingleville, literally buy a couple of cups of coffee and a bag of coffee, and then turn around and drive back.
It's a 20-mile trip. Mm-hmm. To get a cup of coffee
and probably a good hour. You know what I mean? I mean, you're talking like you got to get in the car. It's like 15 minutes. And if you spend 30 minutes there, then you just burned an hour,
How many people can fit in your store? Just to give some frame of reference.
Oh, gosh. I think we have like 14 chairs. Maybe 12. No, maybe 12 chairs.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And you got to have the walkway to get to the post office.
Yeah. And usually when you're sitting in the chairs, like to get to the coolers where the craft beer is and stuff, and the sodas and all that, like you have to kind of like squeeze around, like say excuse me. But they're kind of community tables too, so a lot of people sit together, and it's cool just seeing people be a community in your store. It's great, man.
So what'd you learn about? I don't know if this is really a marketing or branding type of thing, because I'm assuming when you took it over, you weren't on the social world, and the internet and all that. So,
oh yeah,
did you see something happen there that really sparked awareness of you guys?
Yeah. So I've got a friend, Jared Brown, who makes videos, and he's just super good at it. And he's got a gift. He's super good, and he just took us on one day and said, "Hey, man, like I want to make a video for you. I feel like God's telling me to make a video for you. Can we make one?" And so we just made a little promo video for the store, and we pushed it online. And I think I put like $100 on it on a boost or something, and we got like 20-something thousand views.
Dang.
Yeah,
Wow.
in like less than a week, just like bam. So that really boosted sales, and since then I've really been trying to be more diligent about social media. It's not my strong place, but at the same time I realize it is like super valuable.
Yeah, I've seen you do some of those live videos, like where you're making coffee or you're trying to describe something, or actually like give your knowledge away almost on the web. Like it's no big deal.
Yeah, and that's one thing that that's another thing that I think is different from me than a lot of people is I feel like if I have knowledge, that it's more valuable for me to give that knowledge away to people than it is to keep it and use it to get money from people. I don't know exactly how to put my finger on that, but that's just how I feel about it. And so far it's really worked to say, like, to share what you have with others. People really appreciate the piece of knowledge almost as much as they do the product, maybe even more, because they can then go and replicate it. And I'm a big believer in too. As far as the coffee industry go, the more knowledge people have about great coffee, the better off I am. And in my eyes, I guess if I'm sharing knowledge with people and I'm making almost students out of people, then in a way, then I am the authority on the subject.
Yeah.
So I'm more than willing to show whoever wants. I'll go to another coffee shop and give them pointers. You know what I mean? If they'll take it.
Yeah.
But it's just a real passion of mine is teaching people and sharing knowledge. And I don't know. I think it's just because I'm more passionate about it than I am, I guess, greedy about it.
Yeah, I think we were rebranding the Allen firm and like redoing the logos and thinking about how we were going to do social media and all that stuff. That's exactly we wanted to be a community hub.
Yeah.
And even if you're giving away free information, or like our Tuesday tips that we do now.
Oh, I love those.
Away.
And see, I'll be honest with you, Josh, I probably would have canceled your email already.
Like
I would have unsubscribed, man. For real. Like, I got a lot of stuff coming to my inbox, but the Tuesday tip, it's on there, man. And not only that, but I'm looking at it and I'm reading it because it's value.
Yeah. Right, and we were always hoping that we could do something like that, which is what you're doing with the coffee shop, that people will trust you and be like, hey, these guys aren't really out for me all the time.
Yeah,
they're really okay with giving me information I can use now, and then when stuff gets really crazy, or if they want good coffee, they're going to drive to Lingleville.
Yeah, so let me pick your brain then, since you're kind of giving away some knowledge. Like, one thing I really want to get out of this is like, give us and give whoever's listening, like, man, we want to know, make it easy for us, but how to make like the best cup of coffee. Like, give us some coffee knowledge. It's all out there.
Yeah.
Condense it for us.
Okay, so so the first thing I tell people is get a good grinder. Okay, it's like the one thing that you need to invest in, or at least like get your coffee ground fresh. You want to buy whole bean coffee, one, and you want to have the right grind. The grind is like the most important thing that you can possibly do in the coffee world. Forget about everything else. Got to get your grind right first, or everything's messed up.
So walk us through grind. Like, is there a brand? I mean, not for the commercial people.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
For me sitting in the morning.
Yeah, so I always give people the recommendation. There's a pretty affordable grinder, and I say affordable, it's $150. Yeah, I know.
That's affordable.
As far as burr grinders go, like it's the most affordable quality grinder on the market, in my opinion. It's called the Baratza Encore. It's like their entry level grinder. Baratza make a good product, and the Encore is a pretty good grinder. It's a great home grinder. So I recommend that one to people. My mother-in-law just got one. She loves it. I mean, they wear it out. So grind your coffee fresh. One, figure out what the right grind is.
And just real quick, Josh has listened to you, because I hear him running up and down the law firm or out in the middle of Colorado, and it's like,
yeah.
Right there, and then he's got his jet fuel thing.
Yeah, I think on the trip with Michael one time, I mean, I brought a handheld. I was like,
yeah, there you go.
Lance says it has to be fresh. It needs to be fresh. Those for
yeah. And honestly, like if you're just making a cup of coffee for you, those little crank hand grinders, they work. They work good. And those are probably the most affordable. I mean, you can get those for under $50. As far as an electric grinder, go with the Baratza Encore. Great grinder.
So
okay.
Are you talking about the stuff you're putting in? Like, give us a little bit of the grind. Like, if I'm putting it into the pour over or putting it into just a machine?
Yeah. So the big differences that I do as far as like the types of coffee I make, I'll make espresso or I'll make pour over or French press. That's pretty much the three that I kind of stick to. Or I'll just dump it in water and let it come to a boil and sink to the bottom. But if I'm doing those, then I'll do a real fine grind for espresso, and then I'll do a little bit coarser for kind of like coarse sand. That's kind of like what you want it to look like. Real coarse sand. And that way, it's all about how fast. Okay, so you're about to get into like science. This is about to get like super nerdy. Okay, you open a can of worms and you're gonna get it.
No, that's fine. That's what we want.
If you need to edit this out, just edit it out. I'm gonna be like blah, glazing over. So it's all about like the surface area of your coffee. So the more surface area, the more the water comes in contact with the coffee, and the more it extracts. And the trick is that you want to get the perfect extraction, and the perfect extraction tastes balanced. It's not bitter, it's not sour. It's right in between. And when you get balance, then your tongue says, yes, this is good. When you don't have balance, then you get like, ugh, this is gross, because it's either way too bitter or way too sour or way too whatever. So the getting the bitter sour ratio right is kind of what I go for. If I notice that it's tasting a little too bitter, then I know that I need a little bit coarser grind, and I know I need to use a little less coffee. A little more coffee, because it's over extracting. If I notice that my coffee is a little sour tasting, then I know that I need to use a little less coffee so my water can extract it more, or I need to go a little finer on the grind so that the water can penetrate. In a nutshell, that is the principle behind brewing awesome coffee. Now, I will say, to keep it consistent, get a scale and weigh out your water, weigh out your coffee, weigh out everything, and then get a timer and make sure it's exact every single time so you can be repeatable.
So have you done some videos on that they can find you on your Facebook or something? Just water, like how much water, how much?
Yeah,
like
so every once in a while we'll throw out a Facebook video about it. What we're doing right now, what I'm doing right now with Jared is making a series of YouTube videos on how to make really good coffee. So I put out a little video on how to make syrup, how we make syrup at the store. And we put it out. It got like 15,000 views. And we're like, oh, oh, dang, like we're on to something. And all the comments were like, please make more videos. This is awesome, so helpful, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, let's do this, man. Like, I think we can gain an audience. So we just now shot how to make a pour over, how to make an awesome French press, how to make mocha syrup, like all these videos. And it's a Coffee Snob is my YouTube channel.
Okay.
Fitting.
I know the first two. I'm down. I'm taking those two like tomorrow.
Yeah. So some of those aren't released yet. I think I got a syrup one on there, and I got one that's like it's a long video over how to just do a pour over at home.
All right. Well, tell me about water real quick and how important that is.
Yeah. So I mean, your coffee's never going to be better than your water. So what I go for, what I do at the shop is I just do complete reverse osmosis, and then I bleed some softened water back into it to give it a little bit of mineral content. Most of that's for the espresso machine, but I've noticed in a large way that it really affects how your coffee brews. Just make sure it's consistent and that your water doesn't taste like chlorine. That's kind of what I tell people.
So don't tap it up.
You know, if your tap water's good, do it. But most tap water's not good, so just try to avoid it.
Yeah, I don't know if the Lingleville water is any better than Stephenville water.
It's probably better than Austin.
Lingleville water's like half.
Probably better where I'm at.
It's like half solids. So yeah, we got to filter that.
Why is
stuff
this
pretty
water
good.
chunky?
Yeah, it's got limestone in it.
All right. So you recently opened up a second store.
Yeah.
Blackjack's in Dublin. So how did that transpire? Like.
Okay, so I've always kind of had it on my mind to do another location. I guess everybody always does when they do something like this. But I've always thought, like, you know, I think this could be a success in another place too. And I had a manager under me at Lingleville, Sarah, that worked there for a long time, and she's just like super awesome, super dependable, hardworking, and she loves what she does. So I was kind of raising her up under me for that kind of specific purpose, to say, like, you know, when we get another place, it's going to be yours. So I had her in my back pocket, which was just a total God thing. She's awesome. She loves the Lord. I mean, I'd trust her with my kids, whatever. So a friend of mine calls me, and there's always been kind of a little coffee shop in Dublin somewhere that's kind of like struggled and limped on and never really made it, you know. And I always said, I'll never go to Dublin because Dublin's the place where businesses go to die. that was kind of like my motto. But then God put it on my heart, I guess in 2019, to pray for Dublin, and that it would have like an economic turnaround, and that the people there would get hope. Because I think a lot of hope was taken away when, you know, the whole Dr. Pepper thing happened. And, you know, look it up on Google if you don't know. Excuse me. Yeah, so God put it on my heart to pray for Dublin. Me and a group of guys from the church, we actually went right across the street from where we are now. We were praying that God would just lead us to where we needed to pray. We walked across the street and stopped in front of the building. We prayed, and then we walked down the alley that kind of goes next to the building, and then made the block and came back. And so, yeah, just like, I mean, looking hindsight, you see, like, you know, oh my gosh, man, God's awesome. But we didn't know that at the time. We were just praying that God would do something. And actually, a guy who was with us had a prophetic word, and he said, "You're going to own a coffee shop in Dublin." And I was like, that's real cute. No, I'm not. You know, no way, man, not me. Don't look at me. You know, somebody else is going to do that, and I'll support them. That'll be great. So I guess, let's see, that was like October 2019, around March 2020, you know, COVID's happening, businesses are shutting down everywhere, the apocalypse is here, there's zombies in the street, and suddenly this coffee shop comes for sale. It shuts down, and they're just liquidating, building and all. And I've got my brother-in-law, he's into real estate, and I thought, this might be a really good deal for him. I'm going to tell him about this building. So I call him, hey, this coffee shop's for sale. And he says, oh, that's good. Let's go look at it. I want you to come with me. Let's go look at it. I'm like, I'll go see it with him, whatever, Well, he's like roping me in, man. He's got the hook in me already. And so he takes me over there, and we ride over there together, and we're looking at everything. He's got his equipment out, everything for X amount, and it's cheap. And I thought, man, this might be a good deal for somebody. Not me. And so we left, and I'm talking to Joseph about it, and he said, man, I'm interested in it, but I'm only interested in it if you go there. He said, I don't want to buy the building and then, not have a client there. That doesn't make any sense. And I don't want to just have any client. I want to have you in it. I know it'll be successful. I thought, man, like this, I've seen coffee shops crash and burn here over and over. Like I'm not doing this. And I just said, man, I don't know. I'm out. And he looked at me and just said, man, why don't you just pray about it? And man, he knows what he was doing. He knew. Oh man, he got me. And so I said, and I told him, I said, I'll pray about it. I really will. And so we brought it before the Lord, and man, it was like, the Lord was just like, this is what you've been praying for. Like, what are you waiting for, man? And now I can look at it, that it's easy to say that now, but months had gone by since I prayed all this, and so he's like, man, do it. And I will cause the increase. That's what I heard. I'll cause the increase. And then from there, I was like, it'd be stupid not to do it. And so, man, I was like all in after that. And so I called him, told him we were in. We drew up a business plan. He pulled the trigger on the building. And then we just leased the building for X percentage of the income. So it's like fail safe for me. I put no money down in the deal. All I brought was expertise and people, and man, we just went and made it happen.
Yeah, you were working. I remember last year you spent a lot of time.
Oh gosh,
man, your boots were on the ground.
Yeah,
like just demoing it and
yeah. So we tore some stuff up in the store and kind of refaced it, and then did a different layout in there to make it a little bit more, I guess, nicer to work in.
Yeah. And that's called Blackjack's on Blackjack Street.
Yeah, it's 111 East Blackjack Street. And so we are like right on the intersection. And that was another big thing is what he was saying is, man, it'd be stupid not to do this. You can look out the window at any time and see 20 cars all day.
So like since you were anti setting up in Dublin, you obviously hadn't thought about, like what the building would look like or what equipment or what you were going to sell in there.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he tells you do it. Did the rest of that, as soon as you got in the building, did it just kind of like click?
That's just kind of where the creative juices started flowing. And Sarah started putting in input, and I wanted her input because I just said, this is going to be your deal. You're going to be here. What do you want? And so we started just kind of brainstorming. We came up with a menu. We came up with the layout. I found this awesome La Marzocco machine, like the dream machine, that I've always wanted. If we got it for it's like a $15,000 machine. I think we got it for $5,000.
Oh man.
Yeah. And it even got it's got an awesome custom job on it, and it matches the store perfect.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, I cannot make this stuff up. God was like, here you go, here you go, here you go.
Yeah, that's what I just think is amazing, that when and we've talked about it on other things, whenever you finally say yes, when you finally stop telling him no and you're like,
yeah,
all right, man, I got you, then boom, everything kind of falls into place.
It really is. And, something that I've been thinking about on recently is, on one hand, if we say we believe in God, and we really do, then that means something very heavy for us, because we have this I guess we have this like ultimate standard to live by, and we almost put ourselves in this place of like, you know, we could fail. I mean, not with Jesus, but I mean in the world's eyes, you know, just saying that God exists ultimately says, you know, there's right and wrong, and it ultimately says there's a standard to live by that I'm putting on myself. So that's one hand. And then on the other hand, what we have in Christ is if we believe and we're following, like, we can never fail. I mean, really. Like, and if we do, it's not our fault, it's his fault. Like, and that's what I've been telling people the whole time is like, man, if this whole thing just flops, I'm cool with it, you know, because I did my part. And God has to cause the increase. And I mean, it almost sounds like a cop-out or like, I don't know, like some kind of weird fatalism. But honestly, like if you really believe, man, like go for it. If he's telling you something, like you can't mess up anymore, just go for it. And that honestly, all through 2020, that was my thinking. Like, this is going to work. I got to hurry up and get this thing off the ground so we can start making money. Like, let's do it.
Yeah, when did you open it up? In the middle of COVID, did
you? Yeah,
we
opened it in August. Yeah. So one of my favorite things about that store is on the sign. There's a sign on the inside that has a big jack, and it says Black Jacks, and then it says Established 2020. I'm like, yes. I mean, only God does that, you know.
Yeah. Well, so we're gonna land the plane here pretty soon. So, looking back, I mean, with Black Jacks, with the store, with all your ventures, like, is there a couple things that float to the surface on, like, man, there's some big lessons I've learned, or here's what I would tell somebody who wants to, like, walk in that path and start something like this, or go for it? I mean,
you know, I would say make God your business partner first and foremost. And it sounds really cliche, and it sounds just like, you know, Jesus your co-pilot type thing. But honestly, like, it's kind of like what I was saying before. You have to get to a place where you have a clear word from the Lord, and you have peace about it. And then once you know what God's saying to you, just do it. Just start taking baby steps in that direction. And if it's something that takes a lot of steps, then you'll watch them, man. They're just going to start unfolding. That, and make sure you don't overwork yourself. You know, we were kind of talking about that earlier, but you know, just take care of yourself in the process. Have faith in the Lord. Don't get carried away. Take care of yourself. Don't get into a bunch of debt. Don't overwork yourself by working like 100 hours a week. Just let the Lord do his work, and his burden is light and his yoke is easy. I'll tell you, that's the best part about it, is that the burden is so light.
You're having fun, aren't you?
I am, and I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't do it if I wasn't having fun.
Yeah.
If I hated it, I'd just pull the plug. It's not even worth it.
So you've seen, just kind of in your experience, there's a place for the kingdom and business.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Lord work through all that? I mean,
so that's one way that we even try to run our business, especially with our employees, is really, really pushing like a kingdom mindset that we serve one another. We don't lord over one another. I shouldn't have to like sit there and watch you. Like, you're accountable to God. You're not accountable to me. And I expect you to be accountable to him and love people. You know, great customer service and dependability in an employee, that comes down to, you know, it comes down to, do you love people? And do you want to serve people? And are you accountable to God? You know, are you doing what you need to do when I'm not watching?
Yeah, we were kind of talking about that earlier. I mean, there's this weird thinking out there that just because you follow Jesus and you run a business, it's going to be somber and
Yeah.
very rules focused. But I mean, if you're really in love with Jesus and you're having fun doing what He's called you to do, whether that's business or whatever,
Yeah.
as long as you're having fun, that's okay.
Yeah. And
It's
honestly,
important.
the biggest problem that people have had with Christianity over the years is that people don't live it. And it's just rules. It's just rules to follow. And honestly, if it is more than that, if we can have a relationship with this great God who loves us, which we can, then it really is a lifestyle. You don't think about this stuff. You just do it because he continually changes you from the inside out. And honestly, that's exactly what I expect from my employees.
That's good. Well, kind of last parting thoughts. What's next? I mean, is there for you, and
Yeah.
is there a what's next besides raising kiddos right now? But
Yeah, kind of. That's the focus right now. Honestly, like I'm really falling in love with other craft areas of the industry. I've really come to love craft beer, and like you said, I've been brewing, and so one of the goals this year is to brew at least 24 batches of beer this year. That's 2 a month. And so I'm really trying to focus on that and really hone in my brewing. And hopefully, that'll turn into something one day. And
hopefully it'll be the Lingleville Country Store and Brewery.
yeah. I mean, you never know, man. You never know.
Is it going to be called like the Lance?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Well, Lance, I mean, is there any other parting thoughts? I mean, just anything else? I mean, I just can't thank you enough for making time, and we're so grateful for the Granberry Cigar Company and letting us, crash in here and enjoy their store and get to meet face to face.
Yeah, and I definitely want to put in a plug for this place. Honestly, this is the first time I've been here. I didn't know about it, and you had mentioned it to us and said, "Hey, let's meet here." And this place is great.
Yeah,
I mean, it really is great atmosphere, awesome selection of cigars. Like, you got to come check it out if you're a cigar lover or if you know somebody who is.
Yeah. Well, it's been good, Lance.
Yeah.
So thank you. And
thanks for having me. It's great, man.
Tell us where they can find you again online. I mean, just at your various places.
So you can find us on Facebook, of course, at Lingleville Country Store or Blackjack's, Dublin. But then you can check us out on at our website in Lingleville, LinglevilleCountryStore.com. And
then the Coffee Snob.
Yeah, Coffee Snob on YouTube. You can look us up.
And that's when you're just shelling out those videos to make us all better.
And we're going to be sharing like some in-depth information, and we're going to try to do it, as quickly as we possibly can and as fun as we possibly can. That was another big thing is the videos are entertaining to watch. They're fun.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and grab Beer Snob and Root Beer Snob.
Yeah.
And then you have to take them from
Trademark. You can't have those.
Yeah. Lance, thank you. Thanks for making time.
Man.
It's been a great interview.
This has been great, man.
So.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Micah. Me and Josh would like to thank you for joining us in the StoryField today. We hope you've enjoyed our discussion, and to learn more about us and the StoryField, visit thestoryfield.com. This podcast is sponsored by the Allen Firm, legal guides for many of life's situations. To learn more about the Allen Firm, visit allenlawfirm.com. Have a blessed day, week, and year, and we will see you next time on the StoryField.
This is Josh again. I just wanted to thank you for listening and let you know that this podcast is really about hope and about giving you hope for your life. So if you're listening and you're in a place where you're really feeling hopeless right now, or if you do not know Jesus, we have some great news to share with you and would love a chance to pray for you. Email us at hope@allenlawfirm.com. That's hope@allenlawfirm.com, and we'll reach out to you soon. Thank you for listening. God bless you.